How's it sexy? Gary here, and I'm having a midlife crisis. And just going to talk about pillion riding today. I have Sharon on the back, and she's a great pillion. But we've been riding together for a while, so she knows the drill. I think the first thing you want to do is just brief your pillion, show him or her where the hot spots are, i.e. the exhaust and moving parts. You want to make sure they don't have any long flowing scarves or loose clothing that can get hooked up in stuff. Shoelaces and things like that should be tucked away. You want to show her how to get on the bike and off. Talk about leaning in the corners and that, and when she needs to shuffle around a bit to get comfortable, you want to remind her not to do it whilst cornering or when accelerating too heavily, or which of course you shouldn't do with a pillion. The other thing is you want to make sure she has a decent helmet that fits properly. And what I did is I bought a PSI helmet, which is, it's got almost like an airbag inside it, and you can actually pump it up. It's almost like a one size fits all. Also, if the helmet's a bit big, you can maybe wear something like a bandana or a balaclava inside as well to make it fit better, but it must fit nicely. You don't want to, in the event of an accident, you don't want to have your pillion with a helmet doesn't fit properly, because that's no good at all. And a jacket, at the very least. And what I did, I got a jacket from a second-hand shop, which is in perfectly good condition. It's a Kevlar jacket. It's got all the padding and everything. Everything's fine. I think the only thing it was missing was the inner lining, which doesn't really matter. So it's got elbow pads, shoulder pads, back protector, and all that type of stuff. And so, yeah, I'd say that would be the very least. You want to pull off smoothly and ride a little bit slower than usual, especially if it's the first time she's ridden with you. Not too much lane splitting. Sharon's quite an experienced pillion, so I can do a bit of lane splitting with her on the back, and she knows to hold on, and so I'm not worried she's going to fall off the back when I accelerate. But a new pillion, you want to take it a bit more cautiously. No heavy accelerating or braking. You want to do everything smoothly. You want to frighten the life out of the girl. And also, an inexperienced pillion may not know exactly what to do in the corner, so you want to take it slow at first so that she can get used to it. And so pulling off smoothly, smooth into the corners, and no heavy braking, no heavy accelerating. Just be smooth on everything. And also remember that you have a longer stop-in distance. So don't follow too closely to the car in front of you because of the extra weight on board. Another thing to bear in mind is that you'll have more traction on the back brakes, especially if your girlfriend's got a bit of booty, which Sharon doesn't, luckily. I'm going to hand over to Sharon, and she can tell you the rest.
Well, we're about to leave Greyton. We just stayed here for the night. Surprise kind of mini break. We both feel like we need a lot longer because we were just starting to feel nice and relaxed. But today I'm going to be doing a how to be a pillion video. I think the most important thing is getting on, because you really feel intimidated about what the right thing is to do, especially when you're trying to impress the guy, when you've just met him. Now I can do it like I'm putting on my shoes, but at the time I wasn't sure whether I had to stand on the pegs, whether I had to leap over. Luckily I'm tall, so I've managed to be able to put my leg over. But if you're shorter, then you should stand on the foot peg and then straddle over it. I think the key thing is that the guy needs to know when you're going to do that, so you can't take him by surprise, because then the bike will fall over. So just very calmly, and don't get yourself into a bit of a panic, because otherwise that'll probably make things worse. And I think the biggest thing is that you need to ask your rider, because he's the captain of the ship, and he's the one that must make you comfortable. And don't be afraid to ask questions, because you're a newcomer to it, so you don't have to pretend that you're an experienced rider. And I think as a pillion you are more vulnerable, but I think the most important thing is to have the right riding gear, to have a really good helmet. I invested in a helmet that's quite near the top of the range, knowing that if I come off I want something that's going to protect my head. And I also didn't bother with textile jackets. I went straight for a leather jacket, because I think without a doubt it was worth making the investment for the long term, because you really don't want to have a roastie. So I'm just completely relaxed on the back of the bike here, and I just feel and take the lead from Gary. We're going around the corner. I don't lean hugely into the corner, as I think I used to think a pillion should do. I just follow Gary's body language, and it's very comfortable. So if he leads, I'm leading with him, but very gently. We're lucky with the weather today. Hopefully there's going to be no rain as we go into Cape Town. But even if it is, I said to Gary last night that, I've realised I'm not a fair weather rider. I actually enjoy riding in all conditions. It's just such an experience. So as long as you're not wet, that you've got a rain jacket and pants on, you just don't want to be cold, you don't want to be wet, but otherwise it's fine. Particularly if you're riding with a very experienced rider like Gary. So I know that I can absolutely trust him. I know that he takes a bit of strain in the bad weather like anyone would, because it's a lot more risky. So he's got to be on red alert. And you just got to make sure that you're never ever interfering in any way with his concentration. So what I do is, if I feel like I'm leaning a little bit to the left and I'm not sitting straight on the bike, I'll wait until there's a long stretch and then I'll shift. Don't ever shift into the corners. We have a whole lot of different hand signals to show where we need to go, etc. So I'm the navigator, and when we're turning right, I'll pat him on the side, on the right hand side, on his waist, and then if we need to turn right urgently, then I'll do a series of quick pats. Yeah, it's very, very comfortable riding with Gary. I think I've found exactly where I need to be on the seat. I don't go all the way back, because also, as he says, you don't want to have somebody sticking up at the back making the bike feel really unbalanced. And then when we're going into wind or we're on the freeway, I tuck in right behind him. So if we really start going fast and there's wind, then I'll tuck in behind and kind of arch my back a little bit, so we can be like a little bullet. So beautiful at the moment because it's in winter, so the rains have made all these sweeping fields look so green. And yesterday we saw field after field of sheep with their lambs, and I was quite interested because I thought lambs only really came along in spring, because surely they must be freezing their little butts off in winter. The other thing is pillion is that you also want to know what's happening on the road, so there are no surprises for you. You know what might happen next. Like for instance, we're coming up behind a truck here, and obviously Gary's going to slow down, and he'll also overtake when it's safe to do so. So you don't want to be relaxing, checking out the view, and suddenly he has to accelerate to overtake and you fall off the back of the bike. You need to be holding on tightly, like now. And what I also try to do is I try to keep my core quite firm so that I don't get a sore back. And also that means that if we have to stop suddenly, I've got myself under control and I'm not going to flop on top of Gary. Because you need to give him a bit of space. You don't want to be lying all over his back. Particularly when you're going downhill, you need to hold yourself upright And what I also have started doing is I start putting my hands on the tank just so that I don't have to control it all in my body. I can actually use a little bit of help from pushing back on the tank. There are various other ways you can do it, but that's what I found most comfortable. You can also hold at the back, they've got railings which you can hold on to if you're going down a hill, but I don't find them very comfortable at all. See, we're going in the corner now, and there is a slight lean. And it feels quite comfortable, but you don't have to pretend that you're on the racing track. It's not your job to help the bike lean. Whatever you do, do not over-lean. We're about to hit the N1, and obviously being on a freeway, it's a lot more fast, furious, not as much of a country meander, so you really have to be low maintenance. Whoa. You realized we were about to be ridden over by a big fat truck. There we go, we managed to get away. You see, now that's a perfect example of where you don't sit with your hands, not around the rider and wonder what's happening next. You hold on, otherwise you are going off the back of the bike, and I don't want to even imagine what that'll be like. I think the other thing I love about the riding is that you feel the elements. So although the wind can be a bit unsettling when it kind of knocks you around, it's fantastic to feel the wind, to know that you're actually out in nature, that you're experiencing this life, you're not cocooned in a car. If you think about it, it's hell of a risky being on a motorbike, risky being a pillion, and you don't want to interfere with the rider's concentration or his ability to kind of be to be flexible and to respond. He needs to be confident in you. He really needs to know that you're not going to mess with the alignment of the bike or do any sudden jerking actions. Then he can get on with the job of actually focusing on keeping you both alive, making sure that there are no surprises so that he can anticipate a car doing something stupid. And then all in all, you're actually having a hell of a safe ride. You really can cut out so many risks by being aware, being proactive about situations, and you're basically sitting with the situation that the risk that you take is along the lines of walking on a road, being in a car, being in an aeroplane. You're really wanting to be able to do the maintenance, make sure that you've taken care of all the things that you need to so that you can just so enjoy the experience of riding a bike, which I have to say is one of the best things I've ever done in my life. It feels like freedom, it feels like I'm truly alive, and there's nothing else that can compare really. It's the simplicity of life, and you're also getting to see like a 360-degree view, which you don't see in a car. I don't think many people realize what they're missing out on. I see things that I've never seen when I've been in a car. And you really get that sense of being in this huge, wonderful world of ours.